You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. Spring will be here soon, so if buying a new home is on your to-do list, right now is the time to call Quicken Loans. Learn about which mortgage options make sense for you and get a jump on your competition. With our exclusive Rate Shield approval, the low rate you lock today is protected for up to 90 days while you shop for your new home. With a Rate Shield approval, if rates go up, your low rate stays locked. But if rates go down, you get that new, even lower rate. Either way, you win. Talk to us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to take advantage. Here's another great reason to work with us. For a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Hi, welcome to the Subway ad for the new Sesame Ginger Glazed Chicken Signature Wrap. How would you like it?
I'll take a...
Sports announcer at home?
Yeah, how'd you...
We just know.
My wife picks up the new Signature Wrap. It's got double the rotisserie-style chicken mixed with a sesame ginger glaze. She appears annoyed at me, but she shrugs it off. Those sweet and savory flavors are calling her name. She lifts the wrap and she takes the bite! Incredible! And now she's closing the door on my... Subway, make it what you want.
Limited time only at participating restaurants. Double meat basement, average 6-inch sub.
I'm little teapot, short and stout.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
No, Dad, like this. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, tip me over and pour me out.
This is WWE superstar Roman Reigns. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
And the lovely Lou is here with me tonight on the couch.
Hola.
We're going to talk about people that absolutely, clearly hate America tonight and who want to, they don't really care how, if we go full socialist, they just don't really care if they ruin everything. But first.
And you know, Jody, I don't know if they hate America as much as they just hate all of us. Like
well, that could be. Yeah, anybody that's not them.
Right.
Yeah, so, because they, of course, are our betters.
Indeed. We're the unwashed masses.
Yeah. Well, that is very true. But before we get into all politics, we have some very exciting news at the Red Wine. Our lovely producer, Lou, why don't you tell us this exciting little event in your life?
I finished my master's degree in digital forensics. I'm a full-fledged, I guess, forensicator. I'm a degreed forensicator. I'll put it that way. I actually got my paper diploma in the mail yesterday, so woohoo! Yay me!
Now, what does a forensic?
Digital forensics.
Oh,
okay. Well,
what does that do? What? Tell everybody what you exactly do.
I'm going to use an example of some of our sinister happenings in politics to explain this.
Perfect.
Somebody in the audience may have seen my rant about the cell phones that belong to the Mueller team that got wiped. We covered it on Cyber Wars quite a bit. So the 2016 7 people 31 times, wiped their cell that worked for the Mueller team, and Lisa Page actually also worked on the Clinton administration and had the same phone, and she wiped it before, as Horowitz, the Inspector General, started to look into their activities. And everybody's been talking about this. I'm sure you've heard about it. But what happened was the IG took the phones, and the one we got a report on or the 2 that we got a report on was Strzok and Page. I can guarantee you they did it to the other 25 phones that were involved as well. But we got a report on Strzok and Page. So they gave those to a digital forensics investigator who took the phones. This is what I learned how to do. Took the phones and went into the file systems of the phones and found the text messages that they thought they had deleted by factory resetting their phones. But I will tell you, as a digital forensicator, nothing is ever really deleted. When you delete something, it's not deleted. You have to overwrite it for it to actually be gone. It's never gone unless you overwrite the memory. So anyway.
So does that, for instance, mine was just stolen. So I went into the cloud and put phone stolen to erase everything. Does that really erase everything?
I don't know what kind of reset they're using. If they erase it and then overwrite it with random information, then yes, it really erases it. It's really gone. But it would take a digital forensic tool, someone who knows how to go into the databases and find that data to get any data out.
Yeah.
Could be done, but I don't know. I do not know how that particular process of erasing data is done, if it's just a factory reset or if they actually overwrite it. I would hope that they overwrite it, but probably not.
Yeah, so nothing is ever really gone.
No, if you just delete it, it's not gone. If you just say, delete this from my device, delete this from my phone, it's not gone. It's still there on the file system for someone to find. Probably at this point, about 75% of the time, there are certain types of hard drives that make it much harder to get that information. If you're interested, that's a solid state drive. So if you have a Mac, you're good. They're all solid state. If you're in the market for a computer, get a solid state drive. Your deleted information is going to go away a lot faster.
So these guys thought they were deleting everything, but the reality is somebody like you can go in and find it on their phones. Mm-hmm. So it was really foolish of them, because you would think they would know that.
Well, and see, that's the thing. See, I know how to go in and find the information that they thought they had deleted. I can actually do that. The guys that work for the DOJ, and I had one of them in my classes, they are a lot better than me. Way better than me. So.
Yeah. So they should know better than this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
To do this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's just crazy. It's crazy. So, So this all comes down to the fact that these people feel emboldened that they can do it because Hillary did it, with a cloth and a hammer.
Yeah, to think that they were going to get away with that. I mean, it's like I said Monday night, I almost feel like they were getting trolled. Like someone said, yeah, do it that way. That'll work.
Yeah.
Knowing that it wouldn't.
Nobody will ever know.
Yeah, no one will ever know. But I don't know. And it wasn't easy. It's not easy. It takes a lot of man hours, especially to make sure that you got absolutely everything. And it takes somebody with, somebody that's well trained. And some of Strzok's messages, they actually had, the DOD had to get them out. And it went to a special team. So some of his messages were kind of hard to get to, but still, I think they got pretty much everything. They got most of everything. So,
Yeah.
Pretty
well,
stupid.
that is really cool. That's really cool. So, do you have like job opportunities lined up, or do you know what you want to do? Or
I'm doing a security internship right now. So
fun.
Yeah. And this is more like monitoring people that are trying to hack websites and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, that's very exciting. So we're very happy for you. Lou is our she's the person I always ask all those questions to.
Yeah, I get a few technical questions from people here and there.
Yeah.
Goes with the
territory.
So like I ask you my medical questions.
Yeah. Yeah. So on that note, medical questions, just though I'll shouting out there to my mom who's probably listening. She had a great echocardiogram and no longer has to wear that blasted vest. So the beginning of the summer, I missed a lot of red wine time, for those of you that weren't aware, because I was back helping my mom. She had a heart attack. So, interestingly, they said it was from a virus, but it was not from COVID.
Yay, Mom, we're very happy that you're doing so much better.
Yes, I know. So that's good news. So, moving on. We have, oh my gosh, so many great articles just came out this last week. Our own Stacy wrote a great one, and this was a little shout out to Lou. So Lou, why don't you, I'll let you have the floor because this was your article.
Well, I'm just going to tell the story. So I'm watching Bret Baier on Friday evening, and since we have the clip, I'm going to play the clip, and this is edited to get the first and the last part, which are the important part. So I just want to disclose that I did edit this, but I did not manipulate it. So I'm going to play this from Chad Wolf that I saw Friday night on Bret Baier.
All right, Mr. Secretary, I want to deal with this controversy that you're facing, and that is a whistleblower investigation. The whistleblower complaint in part says that you particularly told a person working under you to stop going forward with intelligence that pointed to Russia's interference
in the election. I'm going to read from this complaint. In mid-May 2020, Mr. Wolf instructed Mr. Murphy, Brian Murphy is his name, to cease providing intelligence assessments on the threat of Russian interference in the United States and instead start reporting on interference activities by China and Iran. Mr. Wolf stated that these instructions originated from White House National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien. The two men met on July 20th, 2020, at which time Mr. Wolf stated to Mr. Murphy the intelligence notification should be held because it made the president look bad. Mr. Murphy objected, stating that it was improper to hold a vetted intelligence product for reasons for political embarrassment. Your response, that's from the DHS Inspector General.
Right, absolutely. That complaint is completely false. It's a fabrication. We have been very clear regarding Russia interference in our elections, Russia interference at any point. We've produced over 27 different reports over the last 12 months, I believe 3 alone in the month of August. We've provided over 40 different briefings, in-person briefings to members of Congress and elsewhere about Russian interference in our elections. I've talked about it. I've talked about it on media appearances such as this. I've talked about it in congressional testimony, and I talked about it even this week in my State of the Homeland Security address.
So you're saying that this Brian Murphy complaint is totally made up, totally false?
Absolutely. I think you have to keep in mind, this is an individual in this office. If you go back to early August, I received credible and serious complaints that the INA office, our Intelligence and Analysis Office inside DHS, was collecting information on American journalists. This individual was in charge of that office. I removed him. That's a bright line for me. While an investigation, an OIG investigation, Inspector General investigation, is ongoing on this individual. He didn't like that, and so we see now the results of that. But I want to make clear that absolutely what's in that complaint is false.
Mr. Secretary, we had to talk about it even on this day, 19 years after 9/11. We appreciate your time.
That was a total bomb thrown at Brian Murphy from Chad Wolf that had not been disclosed by DHS prior to this interview. And I think after being asked about it as many times and hearing about it as much as he had, and being asked a second time by Bret Baier, that Chad Wolf had just had enough and he was just going to disclose what was really going on. So if you caught it, what was happening in the intelligence and analysis, the INA section of the Department of Homeland Security, is that Brian Murphy, who was leading that department, was collecting information on American journalists. And what does he do when he gets caught? He turns around and fabricates a story and whistleblows it using the lawyer for Lieutenant Vindman, Mark Zaid. Go, Joe.
Who is scum.
Clearly, because he had to know, right? He had to know that Brian Murphy was being investigated for collecting information on American journalists, and he pushes this whistleblower. I don't for a second believe that Mark Zaid did not know.
Right.
Not for a second. And if he didn't, he knows now. And I'm sure he's still tweeting about Chad Wolf.
Oh, yeah, I told you. He just cheated something. He's going to be vindicated, And for all of you that don't really know who this guy is, he's the one that, the day of the inauguration, he's already talking about impeachment. So that's the kind of guy this is, this Zaid lawyer.
And he actually called it a coup. And that that tweet has been discussed quite a bit, especially around the whole impeachment thing. And I mean, there's so much of this that I cannot wrap my head around. I can't wrap my head around why this bomb that Chad Wolf dropped is not all over the news. Stacy wrote the story because I wouldn't stop whining about it. I know she did it to shut me up. No, I mean, it's a good story. It's important, but I just haven't seen anything. Nobody's paying attention to it.
I think, and honestly, I have to be honest with you. I wasn't as closely either because, there's just so much going on right now.
I know. There's so much going on. And I feel like now, of course, that because so much of what I do is, and what I've been doing for the past 2 years has been tied up in, these kind of cases. And so to me, it probably means more to me, but I just feel like it is another event in a pattern of events. And
right. So did you see Catherine Herridge has been covering the whole whistleblower?
Yeah, great. She's done a great job.
She does, and
she does a great job.
The Atlantic story, which I do think the Atlantic story was complete bullshit. That doesn't mean that somebody didn't come to them and try to sell them a story. Basically, all they said is, yes, someone did go out there and say these things. They didn't say that these things were true. She just said that, yes, somebody did say things, but she got a lot of flack for that. But her coverage in this has been really well. It's been great.
Oh, are you talking about Herridge or Jennifer Griffin that confirmed the other story?
Oh, wasn't it Catherine Herridge that did this, or was it Jennifer Griffin?
It could have been both of them. I know that Jennifer Griffin also got a lot of slack for confirming the Atlantic.
I could be mixing up my Fox News people.
She basically, but she basically confirmed that people were saying what the Atlantic said people were saying, and that doesn't mean that the people aren't exaggerating, that they're not butthurt, that they're not.
Right. Well, Catherine Herridge, and she's at CBS now. She's no longer at Fox, just to clarify that.
Yeah.
But she's the one that has been following these documents, posting them on Twitter, really going after this story, holding Schiff accountable, which I think is wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. She does a great job with facts, and they both do. Jennifer Griffin got flack for that I don't believe that she should have gotten, because she basically did her job. She contacted her sources, and they said, "Yep, we believe it. whatever they said, and she reported what they said, and that was really all that happened. But it doesn't mean anybody's telling the truth, and it doesn't. So they had two. The Atlantic said they had 4 sources. This is where I think they were probably exaggerating, because I don't think they had 4 sources. But if they did, 3 of them said, said the same thing Griffin said, which was, yeah, that sounds like something he'd say, right? Or I've heard him say things kind of like that before, right? Which is not really a source at all. But I mean, that's the problem.
I know.
That's the
problem. But Biden
is
still using that. Biden is still using that in his speeches. Mm-hmm. His speech he just gave, he is still using that story that's been debunked. Yeah,
and it was 25 to 7. Even if you say that the Atlantic story had 4 sources, it was still 25 to 4.
Right.
Last count I saw was like 25 to 4. So that means that the Atlantic did not contact any alternate stories. They didn't even ask for the emails from the White House. They didn't FOIA anything to confirm the story. They didn't do anything to confirm the story. They just ran with opinion and hearsay. So, that's the problem with their story, is that it wasn't verified.
Well, so this transitions into our next little story. So the Atlantic has ties with the Transition Integrity Project, and
which is probably one of the scariest things that has ever happened in our country. Period. Is this Transition Integrity Project?
And this is another reason why that story, the Wolf story, needed to get highlights. And until Tucker Carlson had, God, I can't remember the name of the guy. It starts with a. Do you remember the name of the guy that was on the other night that talked about this? Norm Eason on Tucker. I'm not sure if you saw it or not. No. I can look. I retweeted it. But he had a guy on that basically has been following this, what he believes is a color revolution. And, I listened to that story, and then I went on his Twitter account, pulled up this Revolver story. They've done this exclusive on what's going on and how they truly believe there is an operative that is in the color revolution working against Trump. And when you read this, it is shocking. It's shocking. I can't believe people aren't talking about this.
Yeah, it's Darren Beatty. Is the guy, and I'm going to drop the video in the chat for people to watch after the show.
Yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah. Good guy to follow.
I was really surprised, and it was, Tucker was up against, the end. He had to cut it brief, but that's why. So I went on and I was looking up this guy, and I was looking at this, and this Norm Eason guy is he's the devil. He's the devil. He's like another Soros. What is up with these guys on the left?
Well, I mean, they have identified ways to gain power and money through. I mean, it should be so obvious to people at this point that there is people call them cabals, but it's not even a cabal. It's a whole network, a very complicated network of people who manipulate our system, and our government for power and money. And I mean, it's just at our expense. See, that's the thing, at our expense. So the Transition Integrity Project, you may have heard of it. It is a group of people who are game scenarioing the different outcomes for the election. So, and a lot of it has to do with civil unrest. And the way that Tucker and his guest put it was that they are actually planning civil unrest. They were talking about this on the 5 today as well. They are, and a lot of people feel like what this actually is they are planning for the next coup, right? So it almost feels like, and this sounds so conspiratorial, and I'm going to apologize for that in advance, but it almost feels as if they're not satisfied with how they did it last time, and they're looking for another way to do it. But so talk about this guy and the plan, the other plans that he's come up with, and the other things that he's written.
Well, so this Eisen guy, he was actually, believe it or not, the White House ethics czar under ethics, mind you, under Obama. You know Obama and all his czars.
Yeah.
And he actually, it's really interesting. So he met Obama in Harvard. And it seems like a lot of these players all, they all started out, like Lou and I were saying, years ago with the Weather Underground and all those other radical groups. And they've just kind of grown up and changed. And now they're still working in Washington to change things. And because they can't change things politically, because, the United States isn't voting the way they want them to, they're going to go behind the scenes and just change it the way they want it. So he's got it says he wrote, he's wrote the manual, the playbook. And it says we must forget it. I'm not going to be able to read this. It says it's very important that everybody reads this book because you have to understand how color revolution, what that means and what that works. And it really is a coup. It really is a coup. And it's not, and versus a military invasion, this is just, creating so much unrest and creating so much chaos with the ballots and with all these riots and the nonstop, the impeachment and all of these other things. This is how they're doing it. And they wrote it out. This is their playbook and we're watching it.
Right. And so Obama's former ambassador to Russia, Michael McFaul, is another, and George Kent are other key components, and George Kent you'll recognize from the impeachment hearings, are other key components to the color revolution theories. This article has a tweet in it from Michael McFaul, who likes to call them, instead of color revolutions, democratic breakthroughs. Well, if you consider the fact that this is what they did in Ukraine, it's very well documented, starting with a strategic document written by George Soros that kicked off the activity and outlined the activity that would take place in Ukraine before it ever did. If you consider that at the end of the color revolution that they orchestrated in Ukraine, neo-Nazis ended up in charge of the government, I would not call that a democratic freedom breakthrough.
Right. Well, an actual fair election would be a democratic.
Right. And and so that's
crazy.
That's a really interesting thing because a key component to kicking off a color revolution is creating a situation where the results of the election are in question. And you create doubt in the mind of the people about whether the election was fraudulent.
Right. Exactly. And they have like a little play group. Maybe we need to play group.
The game, yeah.
A little playbook. Which might also be a play group. But I don't know if we have time to do that before we go to break, or if we do that when we come back. But
we can get a break and do that when we come back.
All right. So as soon as we come back, we'll look a little bit more at this, and then we have some Joe Biden. We oh, good Lord, that poor guy. Can he get through one speech? I don't think so. So we'll be right back. I cannot talk to them.
Get up, get your man above the red wine. Get up, get your man above the red wine.
As a small business owner, you deserve more. More confidence, more connectivity, more of the tools that help your business thrive. And at Cox Business, you can expect more from us. We don't just have sales reps. We have perfect plan identifiers. People who will work with you to make sure your business gets everything it needs and nothing that it doesn't. Your business deserves more, and that's why you can expect more from Cox Business. Call 800-526-8572 to switch today.
There's nothing more predictable in life than the unexpected. Lightning will always strike. Hail will fall on roofs. Fortunately, there's AAA. AAA has been helping members stay prepared for over 100 years. So when unusual storms, fallen debris, or sudden leaks happen, you'll be covered. Check, check, and check. Get the home and auto insurance you need by talking with a AAA insurance agent today. Visit AAA.com/insurance or stop by your local AAA store.
If you prefer real mornings, shouldn't you have a real breakfast? At McDonald's, we get real about breakfast. That's why you can have a savory sausage biscuit with delicious hash browns for only $1.50. It's time to wake up breakfast. Single item at regular price. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
I can't get up out of bed with this crazy feeling in my head. I said, get up, get your man above the red wine. No, get up, get your man above the red wine.
Okay, go ahead, hon.
All right, so we're back. I'm sorry, my tonight, I tell you what, I can't talk. But one of the things that they talk about for this, which I think is really important, that we all are aware, and it's going on right now. And that's why I think the fact that this article and this whole transition group and all of these people aren't really being covered is kind of scary. So one of the things it says here is this is their playbook. They should form networks between other opposition groups such as local electoral activists, civil society groups, international organizations, and actors. I really don't know why we need any international organizations involved in our election process, but that's a little odd to me. But again, they're already doing that. They have so many, Soros is behind so many different organizations on the ground. I would say Black Lives Matter is one of them. But create a unified democratic opposition where possible, or consider using referendums such as an alternative. So when the opposition groups can build a broad-based coalition, they significantly increase their chance of a liberalizing outcome. Now, keep in mind, they're the ones that get to define liberalizing outcome.
Right. Well, one thing that they call illiberal is a populist leader.
Yes. So they're just, it's very interesting. And it says, they want to expose the unpopularity of populist governments. The next part of this is increase election monitoring capacity and be prepared to use the electoral abuse evidence as the basis for reform advocacy. So, again, they get to define that there's been electoral abuse. They're going to use their lawyers, and they're going to go in, and it says partnering and collaborating with international election observers. So, again, this is crazy. The next one is engage new voters by presenting a vision for the future. So, successful tactics include bus tours, marches. They need to have door-to-door canvassing, street theater, popular music concerts, satire. So they're already using the media. They're already using actors and actresses, and they have every night show on ABC, CBS, NBC. I mean, they use it all the time.
The really interesting thing about them trying to pull off a color revolution at this time in this country in particular is, first of all, how upside down some of the components are, because one of the components is that one is a semi-autocratic regime that's in power, that's the incumbent in power, or but that's one reason that they try to paint Trump as an autocrat or a fascist, is because they need to drive that narrative home. But it's difficult to call someone a fascist, a populist, and an autocrat at the same time. So I guess fascist is the only way to actually achieve that, is to be a Nazi. The only way to be an autocrat and a populist at the same time is to be a Nazi, I suppose. So,
that's their go-to word.
But a color revolution uses independent media, because it's assumed that, and in a lot of other countries this is true, that the media is either corporate and on the side of the autocrat, or it's state-run media, so it would obviously be in the hands of the incumbent. But that's not at all true in our situation. The media, the corporate media, is very much in the pocket of the people trying to run the color revolution. So this is quite upside down.
Right.
Which is really interesting.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting too. And maybe this has been in the works. Maybe they started this little bullet point in the 60s, and they've been working slowly towards it, and they finally own every media outlet. They've all become billionaires. They've all, they're all buying this stuff up. I don't know, but it's fascinating when you read this. There's two more. One is remember that the message matters. Talks about you must explain the costs of keeping an illiberal incumbent regime in power. So they're constantly telling you that, we're going to have global warming and fires, and, we're still going to have violence. People won't get along, race relations, all of these crazy things that they constantly are pushing. And the final one, this scares me, because this talks about using the Constitution, individual illiberal act of non-democratic actors within the bounds of the norms, utilizing institutional measures such as constitutional authorities of courts and legislatures, which can slow or obstruct illiberal reforms, impeachment processes, votes of no confidence, recall referendas, etc., etc. And, of course, we all know what's going to happen once these mail-in ballots and other things happen. It's going to be chaos. This is what they want.
Yeah, and those go with, the 5 component or the 6 components of a color revolution that I was talking about before, which is a semi-autocratic regime in power, an unpopular incumbent, which is why they paint Trump in such a negative light, a united and organized opposition. I think they're failing on that. An ability to quickly drive home the point that the voting results were falsified. Enough independent media to inform the citizens of a falsified vote. Well, they have the corporate media, so good for them. A political opposition capable of mobilizing tens of thousands or more demonstrators to protest electoral fraud. And we all know where that's coming from.
Right.
So, and when you read this, it's not really the future that comes to mind as much as it was the past. Because as soon as Trump was elected the first time, the protests started. The women's group, which is one, the Women's March, which is one group he actually names in his writings. And Antifa, definitely. We're protesting.
Oh, yeah.
We're protesting like mad. Madonna wants
Day
to,
one. Day
right,
one.
From
they started the impeachment.
Well, the inauguration riots were not.
Yeah.
They were more of a big deal than the media coverage ever gave them. So, yeah. Yeah, and I mean, and that was all Antifa. The inauguration riots. They blew up blew up a limousine. So, yeah.
Yes. So I do highly recommend you guys. The name of this article, it's a Revolver.
I'll drop it.
Yeah. It's revolver.news. And it's called Meet Norm Eisen, Legal Hatchet Man and Central Operative in the Color Revolution Against President Trump. It was written September 9th. And then also Eisen's book, The Playbook. Honestly, I think everybody needs to read that. I think all politicians should read it so they know exactly what's coming up against them.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's this is far from over, and it doesn't matter who gets indicted. It's still far from over. They're just going to keep at this. They're going to keep pounding this and daring someone to call it insurrection or sedition and put them in jail. Basically, it's what I feel like they're doing. They're just daring the Justice Department to do something about it.
Do you think it would be a good thing for Trump to tweet about the playbook, about Eisen? Do you think that would be a good strategy to put it out there so people are aware of what's going on?
That depends. So one thing they're doing right now, and again, I think they fail on many. They failed a lot in Ukraine. I think they're failing a lot right now in this country as well, because I think they started their riots way too early, and the Department of Justice is digging into who's funding, where the money's coming from, who's paying who to do what, and I think that. So it depends on where the investigations are, what they know, and what's coming from the Department of Justice. So if any of the people that we're talking about, McFaul, George Kent, or this guy are caught up in any way in that, I'd say absolutely not. He shouldn't tweet about it. If they're not, I mean, I don't know why not. Show it to people, bring people's attention to it.
Oh yeah, and I think sometimes he does that. I think it's a good thing because otherwise I don't think the press is willing to cover things. I think once you throw it out there, they at least have to,
He pays a lot of attention. He pays a lot of attention to Tucker, so he may very well be.
Yes, that would be a good thing. So, all right, so we have a new segment. I think, did Rick get you that audio yet or no?
I don't know, Rick. Did you get me that audio? I'll play the old audio. We'll play the new audio next week.
And
okay, all right, sounds good.
For Why the Ladies
Hate Joe Biden portion of the show.
We're going to change that to what the hell was Joe Biden just saying. So however Rick wanted to phrase that.
So we, but let's listen to what Joe may or may not have been saying.
Because if you could take care,
if you were a quartermaster, you can sure and hell take care of running a department store thing, where in the second floor of the ladies' department or whatever. You know what I mean? Because if you could take care, if you were a quartermaster, you can sure and hell take care of running a department store thing, where and the second floor of the ladies' department. Right?
You know what I mean?
I don't know what he means.
Yeah, the clip's so nice I played it twice. I have something about it. I think it was supposed to be a statement, kind of like if you can, mine coal, you can learn to code.
Yeah. I just do not understand. They've only let this guy out of the basement a week now, and every day it's a gaffe after a gaffe after a gaffe. I mean, the fact that he came out last night and he played that music, I mean, oh my God, how tone deaf. I just can't believe, I really can't believe it. And then the lyrics, Joe Biden has the right comes at him all the time, that he has an issue with how he touches women and sniffs their hair and touches small children. There's so many pictures of him at different events where he's got his hands on little girls. It's a little weird. If you saw your principal doing that with your kid, you would think it was weird. You would notice it. Yeah. And he does it all the time. The lyrics in this song are like, what in the hell? This is not a song he should be, with that kind of a reputation, be dancing to.
Right. Yeah, no, it's not it's not something that anyone of his age should be dancing to. But what got lost in this in that whole thing was what he said when he turned the music off. Was, if I had the talent of just one of those people.
Yeah, yes, again, those people. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that's not, I mean, like, the standards for racist comments that we have these days, that definitely exceeded.
Oh yeah. It's no different than in 73 when Joe said, "I know what is good for the Negro." The guy says the creepiest stuff and always gets away with it. He's a very, I think he is a racist. I mean, he really says, like, just like that, those people.
His doctor, and Stacy pointed this out to me, his doctor says that the first time he operated on him, he removed a quarter of his brain. The second time he operated on him, he removed another quarter of his brain. Joe has remained in politics and was Barack Obama's running mate after the doctor removed half of his brain.
Right.
I would think that would be a half that you would need. I don't know. But, so, the extent to which this man is just a tool for them. He's a screwdriver. This is the most difficult thing for me to wrap my head around. The most difficult thing is my dad is 83 years old. There was a time when he would have been a fabulous president. Right now, he would probably just curse everyone out because they would get on his nerves. Because he's 83 years old and he doesn't feel like... And he has his whole brain. No one has taken out any of his brain.
Right.
But he doesn't have the patience that he used to have. And he won't put up with your shit for more than a half a second.
Right. Well, another great clip from his flight to Florida is where Joe Biden is walking off of his private jet. He's walking down and he looks,
waving at no one.
He looks in one direction and he gives the thumbs up and waves. Did you see that?
And there's nobody there. Yeah, I saw that.
There's one security guard that's looking, Secret Service guy that's looking the other way. Yep. He's not even looking at Joe.
Totally has his back to Joe. Joe's like, "Hey, dude."
Yeah, I know, he's waving. Who are you waving to, Joe?
He's waving at the fuel truck. Which
I think Joe, who knows who Joe thought he was waving to? We don't know. It's just very funny how the guy, gaffe after gaffe, telling, black people are all alike. Every time he does something off the teleprompter, which, if you guys haven't seen it, there's a very funny meme out there. It shows Joe Biden. It's a split screen with Joe Biden and Clinton. And Joe Biden says, I did not have sex with that woman. And on the other side, you see Clinton laughing, and he says, I put that on the teleprompter. And I can't believe he said it. Like he's like joking. Because Joe Biden will read whatever is on there.
Yeah.
Even the quiet stuff.
Yeah, and I think that was the best clip of Joe in, months, was when he's trying to read off the teleprompter, and he actually says, move it up. Right?
Yeah.
It's like you're on the last answer. I've read this already.
It is very funny. But did you guys see he was on with Corbyn? That's the name of the guy that drives the car, right? That has the British guy that has celebrities in, and they sing songs.
Yeah, carpool karaoke guy.
Yeah. And he's on with him. I don't know why you would need to have a scripted teleprompter, any sort of interview to be on with a comedian. But he's on with him, and he has brought down a photo. And in the reflection, when he holds up the photo, you can see the teleprompter.
Yep.
And so it's really, that's bad.
Right,
it's really bad.
The fact that the campaign wouldn't refuse to answer the question at all wasn't, if that didn't tell us that Joe was using a teleprompter, then he just showed everybody that he was using a teleprompter. And this is
right.
They don't even trust the guy to answer questions from a comedian.
Right.
Yet they are putting him out there as our president. I'm friggin' insulted. I'm sorry. And if you're not insulted, then something is seriously wrong with you.
And what do you think about the two gaffes, both by Harris and by him, where they both said Harris-Biden administration?
If you are not insulted, something is seriously wrong with you. All of this is an insult to our intelligence, to our collective.
Yeah.
This is how stupid they think we are.
And they do, which goes back to the whole color guard thing, where they think they know better than the rest of us. They're going to just take it into their own hands.
We are the unwashed masses that would vote for a populist president. And populists cannot be tolerated. They are too close to the unwashed masses.
Right. It's just, I don't know. One minute I think there's no way the polls could possibly be real, right? You look at, they just said now he's up in Minnesota by 14 points in one of the polls. How is this possible? How can Biden be winning when he can't even get through a sentence?
Well, and I think that might have a lot to do with the poll shift. And I think that the campaign knows the more that he talks, the more ground he loses.
Did you see Trump on Stephanopoulos?
Yeah.
What did you think?
That the planted questions in the crowd, and the way that the crowd, the questions weren't just planted, the people were planted, and they were just, they were if you want to be disrespectful to a president, that's your choice. If I had been in an audience and asked Obama a question, I would never have been, even if it was about Benghazi, I would never have been that disrespectful. Some of those people were just horrible.
Yeah, I agree. But I honestly thought it was great Trump went and did that, so he's preparing himself for debating.
I think it was fantastic that he did it. I think the fact that he obviously, I don't believe that he turns down an interview or an opportunity like that. And because I think that if he was turning them down, we'd be hearing about it. Like it would constantly be, we asked the Trump campaign to, we've asked him to come on the show and he won't, but we never hear that. So,
right. And they did say that about Biden. They did ask Biden and they didn't have any time in their schedule or something like that. It was it was a politically correct response, but clearly he doesn't want to go on and debate where he doesn't have a teleprompter or ask questions even.
Yeah, they can't control the environment, then he can't be. And again, if you would do that, not just to the American people, not just to us, not just to me, but to our country, to our republic, then what kind of horrible people are you that you would do this to him? I mean, this is...
Right. Oh, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
It's elder abuse. Typically when you remove half of someone's brain, they're considered disabled.
Oh, yeah, and they have much higher incidences of Alzheimer's or dementia. Because, clearly you're anytime you have damage, like a football player, you're going to have a higher incidence of that.
Right.
So
what kind of horrible everything that we know, everything that we've come to know about this group of people would indicate that they are really bad people. But this is horrid.
Yes.
This is horrid. This is beyond anything. Like I told you before, when you look at all of the things that we've talked about tonight, they don't care. Yes. It's not that they don't care that they hate America. It's not that they hate us, the unwashed masses. They hate humanity if they would do this.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it's evil. They're evil. These are evil people.
Yeah, it is. It is.
They put Podesta back on that transition team. Come on. These are evil people. There's you can't find any Democrats that are just good people out in the world. In the United States, you can't find any. You got to keep bringing back these awful people. It just makes no sense to me. It's just it's disappointing is what it is.
Yeah.
But hopefully, I'm hoping and praying that, people really are, there's a silent majority out there that is going to go vote. So we'll see what happens. But
yeah, I definitely wouldn't believe the polls, because that they don't just weight them more toward Democrats, they overweight Democrat turnout. So they adjust them by 7 to 8 points toward Democrats to begin with. So I'd never believe the polls. I think someone in the media told me several months ago that they thought it was going to be a Trump landslide. I'm not counting on one, but it wouldn't surprise me. I hope
different people on Twitter have said that.
And this is coming from someone who did not vote for him in 2016. But I hope that it is, because I don't want there to be any question about the results of the election. It needs to be a landslide for our national security.
And honestly, I hope that, hopefully that's a God thing. And honestly, that's what we should be praying for, because that's the only way to stick it to these lawyers that are trying to steal the election and cause chaos.
Yeah. All right. We got to get out of here.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for listening. We'll be back next week. Hopefully Diane will feel better and she'll be back. And thanks for listening. We'll see you guys. Hopefully we'll have more Joe Biden clips. I'm sure we will. So
yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Love you guys. Night.
Timber